This video is about knives and hatchets. Knives and hatchets. Good morning. My name is Tom. I come to you from the great state of Maine. Working down here at my shop today. Grab yourself a cup of coffee. We don't have any ice yet, and we don't have any snow, so might as well work on some projects while we wait. Here we've made it to January. I think today, today's the 2nd. We've made it to January 2nd, 2024. There is no snow anywhere, to my knowledge. I don't even think there's any snow up at the Rustic log cabin. We had a foot a month ago, and then we had all of that rain. We're still flooded. The stream that I want a beaver trap on is full over its banks, and it's been that way now for at least 2 weeks. Everywhere I go is still flooded, and nothing's frozen. Basically because all that water's got to go somewhere, and it's been raining, and it's been warm. It did get a little chilly last night, so I'm sure stuff started to get a skim over it. And last year we were late on the ice. So we've got to pick up some ice before we can do anything outside of staying on the shore. So what I wanted to talk about today was knives. Knives and hatchets. Today's video is about knives and hatchets and axes. Bushcraft axes, to bushcraft knives, to just the regular, everyday, outdoor woodsman equipment. You haven't followed my channel very long to know that high-priced, and I know I'm going to step on some toes here, but that's just the way it is. I don't know any other way to put it, so here we go. And my videos have always been geared towards the new guy getting into this sport. And that's exactly what it is. If you're a fisherman and a hunter, you know, you can call it a sport, you can call it whatever you want to. But too many videos on YouTube are about bushcraft knives, bushcraft hatchets, bushcraft axes, big dollars, big dollars. And you just don't need to spend big dollars on that kind of equipment. And once you've been around this for a while, you'll know why some of us older people that have come up through the ranks over 50 years of being in this stuff didn't have high ticket prices on it 40 years ago. Hatchets and axes, you know, just because you call them a bushcraft axe doesn't mean they split wood, make kindling, or cut down a tree any better than a plain old axe. So, you know, I do find the humor in it. What I really can't understand is why the high price. You know, I've looked at some bushcraft knives and stuff like that. I don't even know what to say in that realm. You know, when you start looking at a knife that costs $350 or $400, that thing better be gold-plated and work for itself in my world. What I carry for knives is very simple knives. They are with me on a regular basis, and one of the knives I want to talk about, and it's only because I get, well, the reason for this topic is I get questions all the time. What kind of knives do I like? This or that, or hatchets, or whatever. And I don't really ever have a good answer because none of them are very fancy. You know, this right here is a Mora knife. This right here is a Mora knife. I have a lanyard around it. I keep it around my neck just because it's a handy spot to carry it. And when people see this knife, they like to leave in the comments, "Oh, what a great knife that is. That's the best bushcraft knife you can get. Well, I want to make it clear that here on the East Grand channel, I do not believe this Mora knife is worth the weight it costs to make it. I carry it for two reasons. One, I call it my beater knife. I can do anything I want with this knife. I don't take care of it very good. It's still covered with deer fur and everything. But it's just a beater knife to me. But its main purpose for me is it has a 90-degree spine. That's really the main purpose for this knife. That, and because it is carbon steel, it takes an edge fairly quick. So I have a little whetstone with me in my pack, and I can put an edge on here pretty quick. That doesn't make it a good quality knife. There's a lot of things I hate about this knife. But I do like the 90-degree spine. Well, then you say, well, Tom, why do you like that 90-degree spine? Now, these are going to run into other videos, but in here I keep a ferro rod. Always. This is with me all the time. It's with me all the time. This is a 1/2 inch by 6 inch ferro rod. I've had it for quite a few years now. But the 90-degree spine is what I get sparks with on my ferro rod. That's one of the only reasons that and being a beater knife is why this thing is in my pack. I rarely carry matches. I won't say I never carry matches because sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It depends on what's in the pack at the time. But that's why this thing is around my neck. It's not because it's a good quality knife. So don't be running out and purchasing a Mora knife because East Grand Woodsman got one around his neck. Because you'll be like me and you'll be disappointed. Now I keep the ferro rod in an old knife sheath, and also in there I keep another smaller knife, and I keep a little piece of hacksaw blade. Because the hacksaw blade is also, I got a little small knife in there as well. Takes a good edge, really good for cleaning fish, all that, small work. But these things are in my pack everywhere I go. I don't go out in the woods without a ferro rod, and I don't go out in the woods without a 90-degree spine knife. But that doesn't mean that I had to spend $400 for these knives either. Like I said, this is about not spending $400, $500 on a bushcraft knife. A knife is a knife is a knife. Don't be falling in. If you're new to this, don't be falling into that trap. And I know this video's already gotten to be too long. The other knife, I don't carry this with me all the time. But I know that in the bushcraft world, the bigger the knife, the better. We're going to chop firewood with it. We're going to do all kinds of stuff with it. I don't chop firewood with my knives. Period. Period. Why would you chop trees down? I don't, whack, 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 whack. You watch some of these videos. Whack, 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 40, 50, 60 whacks to get down a tree. Have you lost your mind? I don't care if it takes 20 whacks to whack down a tree with a hunting knife. That's not what a knife is made for. I carry this big knife, this is for when I need to butcher a deer. I have smaller knives and then I have big knives for butchering a deer. That's it. That's all these knives. I don't split firewood with it. I don't split kindling with it. I don't anything with it. I use it for meat. I use it for camp chores. I don't use it for gathering firewood. Now, I've had this buck knife for years and years and years. 50 years ago, 40 years ago, if you had a buck knife, man, you had the best knife that was out there. I still feel the same way. If I'm going to chop some kindling and you watch my videos, I'm using an axe. This isn't a $400 axe. This is put out by I like this axe. This is put out by the chainsaw company, Steel. That chainsaw you see in my pictures, this is a woodsman's axe. This is a guy that's cutting down trees. That's his axe for pounding in wedges. This is a nice axe. Now I need to clean this one up. I need to put an edge on it. It's sharp. Don't let it kid you. This thing has been everywhere with me for years. It's rarely out of the 6x6. In the wintertime, it'll come out of there. It'll get stuck on top of my pack. It's just on and on and on and on. That's for kindling. That's not for cutting trees down. Then we got an axe. This is not an axe for cutting trees down. This is an axe. Now I know I'm being funny and I'm trying, and I know some people gonna not like it. Hey, that's all right. That's all right. I'm talking to the new guy getting into it. Buddy, this is an axe. I bought the head at a lawn sale for $5. I ordered the handle online. It was a matter of measuring this distance to size it up, and then you order it. That's how I bought the handle. This is a man-size axe. This will cut down a tree. This will keep you warm. The next thing over this is a chainsaw. And I know this video has gotten way too long, but that's all right. This is important stuff. The other thing, the other knife I carry, this is another buck knife. This is my hunting knife. Now I had this one given to me about 2 years ago by my nephew. I need to clean it up. It's still got deer stuff on it. I've got the hook blade for taking care of the deer, and this knife takes an edge really good, and this is the knife I use for skinning the deer and getting him cut up down here and then, you know, packaged up so then I can bring him up into the house for taking care of it. But these are the knives that I lug. The most important knife that I lug, and I got two of them, is this thing right here. What makes this so special? Number one, it's 3 blades. You can keep this in your pocket all the time. Why do I like that? The reason I like this, number one, you got a decent blade knife. And again, we're talking $50 here. We aren't talking $400. But this right here, you see that? That's a little saw blade. Now we're going to do a video to why this little saw blade is so important in my survival pack or in my everyday carry when I'm in the woods. I do not go in the woods without a knife like this. I own 2 of them. This is the one that was in my pack this trip, so this is the one that I dragged out to show you. And I'm going to do a video on this knife. When you need fine dust for that ferro rod, this is the blade that will do it. It's a little saw blade. I don't use it for cutting down trees. I don't use it for anything like that. I use it for making dust for my ferro rod. And it works very good, and I will do a video on that to freshen those videos up. The other thing that you will see around my neck when we're out in the bush is a little saw. Now this one I will take down a little bigger limb. Get these out. When I'm gathering fat wood, or I had another guy brought into the comments a couple of weeks ago, was for 400 years they called it pine tar. It is pine tar. It always has been pine tar. It's also been fat wood. Now, I can take this and cut off a 2-inch limb off a pine tree, a fir tree, and I can gather my fat wood with this blade pretty easy. More so than this little saw blade here. So this is handy. When you see me in the bush, I about always have this around my neck because I'm always cutting something off the tree. trying it out and seeing if it burns. So, I think that covers everything that I lugged out here. I tried to make fun of a few things, but all the equipment that I just showed you, probably, I know, not probably about it, doesn't come to a $100 bill. Yeah, it doesn't, period. Well, if you buy this new, I think this is $50 now. But like I said earlier, don't be rushing out to buy a don't be rushing out to buy a Mora knife. This right here came from Walmart, and it actually can replace this here as far as the 90-degree spine goes. When you're looking at your equipment, look for stuff that has a 90-degree spine. Because if it's got a nice clean 90-degree spine, you can get your sparks off that. It's more than sparks. You can get your material off that for building a fire. And that's where the 90-degree spine comes in. A lot of times on the stainless steel knives, they don't have a 90-degree spine. If they do, I haven't seen it. A little bit of a one on that big one, but like I said, I rarely carry this. This thing is always out in the... That will work. Not perfect, but it will work. But it's rare that I carry this anyways. Back on the snowmobile or back in the four-wheeler, something like that, I might carry that stuff. So hopefully this will answer some of the questions that have been coming in the comments about knives and all of that. And especially talking about the Mora knife. I really don't like it when I get a comment that says, "Oh, what a great knife that is." Anyways, this is going to go along with what is a woodsman, all that, in that, I'll put it in that same playlist. What is a woodsman? Expensive gear, expensive knives and hatchets, all of that stuff will never make you a woodsman. That's not where the skill begins. In my world anyways, there's too much other stuff that you need in order to be a successful out in the woods, to spend a lot of money on a hatchet or on a knife just because it's some bushcraft channel said, "Hey, this is the best bush, the bigger the better. This is the bigger the better, and this is what it takes." I can guarantee you that there are no woodsmen running around the state of Maine carrying a knife that size. Not one worth his weight anyways. That makes for probably a pretty good YouTube channel showing or whatever, but that's just not the case out in the woods. If you're running out there to build a little camp and all of that, that's one thing. Chop, 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 all that, but that's not where it's at. And now I know I'm just rambling. So you have a great week, and I will see you next week.